countdown to economic collapse.
This is Countdown to Economic Collapse, January 6, 2013. I'm David John Sponheim, running for president under America's Third Party. Well, the fiscal cliff is no longer a cliff. Nothing to worry about, right? Wrong. Our country is worse off than it's ever been. We are being lied to. The incredible problem is seen everywhere in the country. You can see businesses closing in your cities and your towns. Open your eyes. See people being displaced from their homes. Foreclosures everywhere. Don't kid yourself. This country is right in the middle of the throngs of a Great Depression, just like the Great Depression of the 1920s. But they, being the powerful elite, are covering it up, making it seem like, oh, it's no big deal, the stock market's doing great, nothing to worry about. Well, this is all being masked over by the printing of money, the fractional reserve banking system. The Federal Reserve has done the unspeakable, borrowed from our future, bankrupted our nation, and then given big banks tons of money and continue to give mortgage-backed securities $40 billion a month. That's money from the future, folks. They are simply undermining the value of the dollar in your wallet every single second of the day. They are printing up so much money, it's diluting, making it seem like dollars don't matter anymore. Well, all of this is right there under our eyes and we can't even see it. The American people have been shut down. The media puts a scrim over everything we see. Now they're talking about gun control as if that's the big thing, as if that's going to solve anything. You know, 5 years ago when Washington, D.C. allowed handguns, the murder rate went down 37%. There's no evidence that gun control works. In fact, it makes it possible that for people to not defend themselves against criminals. Criminals can get guns, but then citizens can't get weapons that could be used to defend themselves. And I must remind you that every single genocide has been preceded by gun control. When Hitler killed all the ethnic minorities, he used a treaty, an international treaty, to get rid of their guns first. When Pol Pot killed millions, 9 million in Laos, he used gun control first to make sure that they were defenseless. When Stalin took out 20 million people, he used gun control in Russia to prevent that from being a backlash of people fighting back. So I believe that we have got to look deeper at the problem. Gun control is not the legislation Congress should be dealing with. Our lame duck Congress should be dealing with the budget still. A small fiscal cliff problem is nothing compared to what's coming. There's coming the fiscal drop, a massive drop, which is bigger than $600 billion. We are looking at rip-offs going on around the world, scandals like the Libor scandal, which is being covered up by the media. Everybody is turning their eyes away from what just happened. Basically, Britain investigated it, and the American government is investigating it, but they've decided as of July that the scandal has been settled and that companies like UBS need to pay $1.5 billion, HSBC has to pay $1.9 billion, $453 billion has to be paid by Barclays Bank. So they got off cheap. But the real numbers are in the amount of money they made. Now think about it. A half a percentage point with $10 trillion could mean $500 billion in added profit. So that being said, we are now in a position where the people, the big bankers, are not getting criminal charges. It's not going to stop more interest rigging efforts at the World Bank. And Barack Obama continues to do the bidding of the IMF and the World Bank. So we see how that's playing out. Basically, the real telltale signs of an economic collapse will be in inflation, hyperinflation. Now, we waited for some time for it to happen, but I don't think anybody really understood how deep into our credit Ben Bernanke was willing to go. Borrowing $16 trillion and loaning it out to anybody, including nearly $4 trillion to overseas companies, was a big mistake. We, the American people, are going to be sitting around holding the bill, or we're going to have to negotiate the end of the Fed and erasure of the debt, which I believe will happen in the future. But we're going to have to negotiate that. The laissez-faire economic model that was originally part of our capitalist system is no longer applying because all these banks get all kinds of printed money anytime they want it. The Federal Reserve is printing up so much money, it's going to be $85 billion per month just to cover all the debt notes that are sitting out there. So this economic collapse is coming, regardless of what you may think. Now, the fiscal cliff deal was not a deal at all. It was actually a backroom deal where big corporations like General Electric and Goldman Sachs and Disney are going to get kickbacks. Check out this story about how they're negotiating all this money out of the fiscal deal.
In the final hour, Congress finally signed the fiscal cliff bill. But what they don't tell you is 8 corporate subsidies are buried in that bill, from Goldman Sachs to Disney to NASCAR. Throughout the months of November and December, a steady stream of corporate CEOs flowed in and out of the White House to discuss the impending fiscal cliff. Many of them, such as Lloyd Blankfein of Goldman Sachs, would then publicly come out and talk about how modest increases of tax rates on the wealthy were reasonable in order to deal with the deficit problem. Well, let's see what those are. NASCAR got a break that amounts to $43 million over 2 years. The railroads got a break that'll get them $165 million a year. Disney got to eat. Well, they're going to get $150 million for 2010 and 2011 in kickbacks. A brother mining company gets helped out when they don't have to worry about taking care of their workers. They can just get extra money to do that. And then subsidies for Goldman Sachs headquarters. This amounted to $1.6 billion in tax-free financing for its new massive headquarters through Liberty bonds. And then $9 billion offshore financing loophole for banks. And this is a weird one that gives companies like GE, Caterpillar, and JP Morgan tremendous benefits. And they get to actually defer taxes for years to come. Tax credits for foreign subsidiaries, $1.5 billion from 2010, and the U.S. Chamber loves it. There's another area, bonus depreciation, R&D tax credit. These are well-known corporate boondoggles. The tax credit was projected to cost $8 billion for 2010 and 2011, and the depreciation provisions were projected to cost about $110 billion for those 2 years. That's money the American people need to run their government.
So how did Barack Obama pull this off? Well, it wasn't he that pulled it off. It was all destined to happen. Ben Bernanke was telegraphing that people making over $400,000 would pay extra taxes, up to 40%, because they've got all kinds of kickbacks and credits and deductions. They don't need to worry about that number. Their tax accountants will work their way around it. So Ben Bernanke knew that he could hold out, and the Republicans finally did cave in, and Barack Obama got what he wanted, which is all his cronies and corporate backers to get their money. But how did he do it? Well, he authorized a pay raise for his own staff and Congress. Now, mind you, Barack Obama doesn't have the authority to give a pay raise to this Congress. He doesn't even understand the U.S. Constitution. Check this out.
Here is the 27th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. No law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. Because Obama issued his executive order after the election in November, another election must happen before that law can take effect.
Now, Obama has proven to be one of the most spendy presidents we've ever had. And he wants to increase salaries for his staff, which is interesting considering the 2011 report to Congress shows the salaries are pretty dang high.
In the meantime, the big cronies get richer and richer. The stock market looks healthy, but it's not. Your money becomes worth less. The back of all of this is the properties that all of us hold, or many of us hold. They're worth less and less. I mean, American property holders have lost perhaps 40% on the value of their property. And all of that went into the hands of the banks. And the banks just sit on it, and they create these liquidity traps, which is the death knell of this type of economic plan we're living under. This, I'm going to call it National Socialism, because that's the only way to describe it. It's basically the apparatus of the government being used, the taxes coming off the working class to pay for the non-working class, and all of it's being used to help big corporations have better competition against smaller corporations and companies. basically putting small people out of business. And the American small business will eventually just disappear. And then huge corporate conglomerates will control everything. They already do. There's only about 5 companies that control the food supply in America. So you've got to ask yourself, is this nation going to fall into the hands of this two-party tyranny, as I call it? Or are we going to step up in the middle of the political spectrum and create a centrist, united political movement? And that is what I predict will happen. Our country will eventually wake up. You're telling your friends and family right now probably about America's third party or about a third party movement. Many people are talking to their families saying, hey, we just can't keep voting for the same thing and expect different results. It's not happening. The president is currently ignoring the people, and he's doing whatever he wants to do to get his cronies what they wanted, who put him there in the presidency. And this is a problem. A government that is unresponsive to the American people, a free press that is non-existent. No one out here in the blogosphere gets to say anything in the mainstream media. They crush anything like that. And they use the power of the media, propaganda, to fund and push candidates that are in their pocket, legislation that will ultimately take down the American people completely. Well, I believe this country is not stupid. We're going to stand up, and we've got to unite under a banner, and I've chosen America's Third Party as the banner for all of us to unite under, and I recommend that you check out our nightly show and interact with me, because I will be the transparent president that Barack Obama is not. I will have a daily chat show, and we will have press conferences that are unscripted, and questions will come at me that have not been pre-screened. I'm ready to do that. And I'm ready to deliver a message to the American people that will inspire them to start businesses. And there will be less regulations. We'll offer an infrastructure bank giving out 2% loans from the government direct if businesses hire U.S. citizens at a living wage. This is a revolutionary plan that we came up with at America's Third Party, and we believe that it will trigger the economic cycle. You see, the government is responsible for creating jobs. That's where Barack Obama got it wrong. He needs to understand that FDR got us out of the New Deal by triggering all kinds of new jobs and making sure those people had the revenue to fund their own growth, personal growth. Now that's got to happen again. And I believe that it will happen with innovation and less regulations and a better, solid understanding of the dynamic of our country and where we need to go to be the leader around the world in green, clean, and renewable energy technologies. Okay. That being said, it should be pretty simple. All we have to do is get me on the ballot in your state. That's simple. We've got 4 years to do it. We need donations. We're going to have to get donations to get cable TV ads so that they can reach a lot of people, and we know it will work because we've already tested it out in 2008, and we reached a lot more people on our website when we did run cable TV ads. So I urge you to donate to America's Third Party and get us back on that chance to beat the two-party system, that road to success, a place where we can actually get them to run a little scared so that they know that their jobs are almost over and the real job of creating a better economy is just beginning. And I hope to be your president in 2017. I'm David John Sponheim for America's Third Party, and I endorse this message.